It's 2 a.m. You're not thinking about what went right today. You're thinking about something you said 3 years ago, in a room full of people who have almost certainly forgotten it by now. This is not anxiety. This is not overthinking. This is your brain doing exactly what evolution designed it to do. The problem is, evolution never accounted for a life where your biggest threat is a memory. Psychologists have a name for what's happening to you. They call it negativity bias, the brain's deeply embedded tendency to register, process, and retain negative experiences more thoroughly than positive ones. But the name flattens it, makes it sound clinical, manageable, like something you could fix with a morning routine. The reality is stranger and older. Imagine you are standing on a savanna 200,000 years ago. You hear a rustling in the tall grass. You don't know if it's the wind or a predator. Now here's the critical question your brain must answer. Not next week, not after reflection. Right now, in this instant. Does it matter if you were wrong about danger last time? The answer, from an evolutionary standpoint, is no. What matters is that you remember every time something went wrong, every near miss, every mistake that could have cost you your life, because the brain that obsesses over its failures survives longer than the brain that shrugs them off. Your embarrassing memory isn't a character flaw. It's a survival mechanism from a world that no longer exists. But you're still running that ancient software, in a life that doesn't require it. And that tension between what your brain was built for and what your life actually demands is where most of your suffering quietly lives. The brain doesn't treat all memories equally. When something happens, good or bad, your brain decides in real time how much neural ink to spend on it, how deeply to carve the groove. Neuroscientists describe this through the lens of the amygdala, a small, almond-shaped structure deep in the brain that functions like an emotional alarm system. When the amygdala fires, it doesn't just store the memory. It amplifies it. It flags it. It wraps it in a layer of emotional urgency that says, "Remember this." Here's what's remarkable. The amygdala fires far more intensely in response to threat than to reward. A study by psychologist Roy Baumeister quantified what he called the "bad is stronger than good" principle. Across domains, from financial losses to social rejection, negative events consistently had a greater impact on psychology than equivalent positive events. Not slightly greater, significantly greater, disproportionately greater. What this means is that your first memory of public humiliation was encoded with the kind of emotional intensity your brain usually reserves for life-threatening events, while your first promotion was filed somewhere between things to get dry cleaned and dentist appointment. The encoding was never symmetric, and until you understand that, you'll keep assuming the imbalance is about you, about some deficiency in your character, when really, it's about the architecture of the brain itself. There is another phenomenon woven into this, one that multiplies the weight of embarrassing memories, specifically. Psychologists Thomas Gilovich and Kenneth Savitsky called it the spotlight effect. The premise is this: we consistently overestimate how much other people notice us, how much they observe our stumbles, how long they hold those stumbles in mind. You spill a drink, trip on a step, mispronounce a word in a meeting. Your brain tells you, everyone saw that. Everyone is thinking about it. They will bring it up. They will remember. In reality, most people are so consumed by their own internal monologue, their own mistakes, their own appearance, their own quiet anxieties, that your moment in their attention was, at best, fleeting. The spotlight, it turns out, exists almost entirely in your imagination. But here's the cruelty of the loop. Even after you intellectually know, no one remembers, you still remember. The emotional memory doesn't update just because the rational mind corrects it. And so you carry something that no one else is holding. You carry the full weight of an audience that went home years ago. The stage is empty, but you're still performing the apology. You might be wondering, if negative experiences are encoded more intensely, why don't our happiest memories stay equally vivid? Surely joy creates its own intensity. It does, in the moment. But psychologists have documented something called the fading affect bias, and it reveals a quiet tragedy buried in the way memory works over time. Positive emotions attached to memories fade faster than negative ones. The pride you felt when you finished something difficult, the warmth of a moment of genuine connection, the quiet satisfaction of a goal achieved, these feelings erode. The memory itself might stay, but the feeling that made it meaningful slowly drains away. Negative emotions, by contrast, retain their emotional charge far longer. Which means, as time passes, your wins become facts, neutral data points. I did that. But your failures remain experiences. They stay present tense. They remain something happening to you, rather than something that happened. This is why a single harsh comment from a decade ago can still sting, while an entire year of genuine success can feel, in retrospect, like it happened to someone else. Hedonic adaptation plays its part here too. We are remarkably good at returning to emotional baseline after positive events. The new job, the finished project, the recognition. We absorb them quickly, normalize them, move the goal line. Suffering, we are slower to adapt to. And so the ledger of experience is almost always imbalanced. Failures on one side, heavy and present, wins on the other, distant and pale. Now here is where most conversations about this topic go in the predictable direction. Gratitude journals, positive affirmations, celebrate your wins, reframe the negative, train yourself to focus on the good. And those things, in isolation, are not wrong, but they miss something important, something deeper. Because the real question isn't how do I stop remembering my embarrassments? The real question is, what does it mean about me that I can't? And the answer, when you sit with it honestly, is this. You remember your embarrassments so vividly because you care. The social stumble that you've replayed 1,000 times, you remember it because human connection matters to you, because how you are perceived matters to you, because you are not indifferent to the world and its opinion of you. That caring is not weakness. It is the same root from which empathy grows, from which conscience grows, from which the desire to do better grows. The brain that doesn't care about social failure also doesn't feel the warmth of belonging. These are two faces of the same coin. So the paradox is this. The very mechanism that tortures you with embarrassing memories is the same mechanism that makes you capable of depth, of connection, of meaning. You cannot amputate one without diminishing the other. What you can do, and this is where the real work lives, is change your relationship to those memories. Not suppress them, not rewrite them, not paper over them with forced positivity, but recognize them for what they are. Evidence of a brain doing its job. Evidence that you are alive and social and invested in the world. Slightly misfiring in the context of modern life, yes, but not broken. There's a concept in Japanese aesthetics called wabi-sabi, the philosophy of finding beauty in imperfection. In transience, in the crack in the ceramic bowl, which is not a flaw, but part of the object's history. Your embarrassing memories are the cracks. They do not diminish you. They are, in their strange and uncomfortable way, part of the texture of being someone who tries. And as for your wins, the ones that fade before you can hold them, the practice is not to chase them with more intensity. It's to slow down inside them before they pass. To be present to the moment of achievement before the brain rushes to normalize it. To let the feeling land fully rather than immediately pivoting to the next thing. Not because you deserve a trophy, but because that moment was real, and real things deserve to be witnessed, even and especially by yourself. The brain is not a fair witness to your life. It keeps the receipts for everything you got wrong, and loses the evidence of everything you got right. But knowing this changes the equation, not by fixing the bias, but by letting you hold it with a little more distance, a little more compassion, a little more curiosity about the strange, ancient machine that is quietly running inside you. You are not defined by what you remember. You are defined by what you choose to return to. And perhaps the most quietly radical thing you can do is this. The next time a win comes, stay in it. Just for a moment. Don't move. Don't deflect. Don't qualify it. Just let yourself be someone who noticed. If this resonated with you, you might find our exploration of why we self-sabotage the things we want most equally eye-opening. It's linked right here.